As a result, storage is now more exposed to various security threats. It is exposed to various security threats that can potentially damage business critical data and disrupt the critical services. So securing storage networks has become an integral component of the storage management process. It is an intensive and necessary task essential to managing and protecting the vital information. So we know that this information needs to be protected always. So this is a very vital information which needs to be protected. So therefore there is need for securing the storage infrastructure. So in this chapter what we are going to do is the chapter describes a framework for storage security that is designed to mitigate security threats that may arise and to combat malicious attacks on the storage infrastructure. In addition, this chapter describes basic storage security implementations such as the security architecture and protection mechanisms in SAN, NAS and IPSAN. So these we are going to study in the next class. So basically today we are going to understand what is this security framework, and then we have to understand what are the risk trades in security in storage infrastructure. So first understanding the risk trades and the storage domains, security domains we are going to understand. So first let us understand what is the objective of this chapter. So upon completion of this chapter, you will be able to define the storage security. Also you will be able to discuss the storage security framework, and you will be able to describe the storage security domains. So storage security domains are going to be in three domains, that is application, security management, and then also backup, recovery and archive also needs some security to be provided. So we are going to study all these three in detail. So first let us start with defining the security, storage security. So here what we are going to do is, in this particular part of the chapter, we will be able to define the storage security, we will be able to discuss the elements to build storage security framework and security services, which are the important security services we will have to understand, and also we are going to define what is risk trade. So first we will understand what is storage security. What is storage security? Application of security principles and practices to storage networking, that is data storage plus networking technologies. That is going to be the storage security. Focus of storage security is secured access to information. Definitely that has to be a secured access to information, and also storage security begins with building a framework. First, a framework has to be built which is going to focus on storage and networking. So securing the storage and the networking. So when we say storage means that is going to be the data storage or the information which is present of the business, and that information needs to be secured, and this information is going to be connected and it is going to travel through the network. We know that anything is going to be accessed through internet. So therefore the network security plays an important role here. So let us first understand what is the framework for this storage security. What do we mean by storage security framework? Storage security framework is a systematic way of defining security requirements. So framework should incorporate all the security requirements, that is, which are anticipated security attacks. So when you are going to describe the framework for security, you have to first anticipate all the security attacks, then actions that compromise the security of information. Once you anticipate the security attacks, you must know what are the actions to be taken to compromise the security of information. Then security measures and also control designed to protect from these security attacks. We will have to design to protect from these security attacks. Then security framework must ensure, what all it should ensure is, it should ensure confidentiality, integrity, availability and accountability. So can anybody tell me what do we mean by confidentiality of the data? So what do we mean by confidentiality of the data? The data, when it is being transmitted from one node to another node, it should not be compromised on the way. It should reach the destination without any modification in the data, and nobody should be able to steal that data which is being transmitted from node A to node B. If this data, when it is being transmitted from node A to node B, this data should be accessed only by node B. Nobody else in the way should be able to access this data, and if they access also, they should not be able to understand what that data is. So that is confidentiality of the data. Then what is integrity? Integrity is the data when it is transmitted from node A to node B, it should not be modified. Whatever data is sent from A, the same data should reach B. So that is data integrity. Then availability. So whenever, at what time data B wants this data from A, at same time it should be available to B. That is availability. Whenever it is required, it should be made available. Accountability. Suppose if some change is made in the data when it is being transmitted, who should be made accountable for that change? Because A has sent the correct data but B has not received the correct data. Then who should be blamed for that? That accountability has to be maintained. So let us try to understand these four issues in detail. So storage security framework attributes. So we have seen that the four important attributes of this security framework are confidentiality, integrity, availability and accountability. CIA, that is called a CIA triangle. C means confidentiality, I is integrity, A is availability and accountability. So this CIA triangle has to be maintained by the security framework. The basic security framework is built around the four primary services of security: accountability, confidentiality, integrity and availability. This framework incorporates all security measures required to mitigate threats to these four primary security attributes. So let us understand what is accountability service. Accountability service refers to accounting for all the events and operations that take place in data center infrastructure. The accountability service maintains a log of events that can be audited or traced later for the purpose of security. So this log of all the events what have happened in the data center are going to be maintained, so that if anybody complains, they should be able to find out who is the culprit. So therefore, this accountability service maintains a log of events that can be audited or traced later for the purpose of security. Then what is confidentiality service? With respect to data center, we are trying to understand, not with respect to data or information. So confidentiality service provides the required secrecy of information and ensures that only authorized users have access to data. This service authenticates users who need to authenticates the servers who need to see that data in transit and at rest can be encrypted to maintain its confidentiality, in addition to restricting unauthorized users from accessing information. Confidentiality services also implement traffic flow protection measures as part of the security protocol. These protection measures generally include hiding source and destination addresses, frequency of data being sent and amount of data sent. All this has to be hidden because people can even find out what is the frequency of data being sent and amount of data being sent. On that they can identify what transaction is taking place on that particular path. So therefore it is very important to protect all this from the malicious users. Integrity service. What do we mean by integrity service? This integrity service ensures that the information is unaltered. The objective of the service is to detect and protect against unauthorized alteration or deletion of information. Similar to confidentiality services, integrity services work in collaboration with accountability services to identify and authenticate the users. Integrity services stipulate measures for both in-transit data and at rest data. Even when the data is at rest also, some people may try to tamper that particular data. So therefore, integrity service has to be taken care during transit of data also and when the data is at rest. What do we mean by availability service? This ensures that authorized users have reliable and timely access to data. These services enable users to access the required computer systems, data, and also implement and applications residing on these systems. Availability services are also implemented on communication systems used to transmit information among computers that may reside at different locations. This ensures availability of information. If a failure in one particular location occurs, these services must be implemented for both electronic data and physical data. Availability services must be made available for both electronic as well as physical data. So these are the four important issues which are taken care by the security framework. So now we have to understand what is the risk trade. Risk trade defines the risk in terms of threats, assets and vulnerabilities. When there is a system, there are going to be set of threats and there are going to be assets present in the system, and also the vulnerabilities are going to exist. So risk arises when a threat agent, an attacker, seeks to access assets by exploiting an existing vulnerability. So what do we mean by threat? So risk is going to arise when a threat agent, that is an attacker, seeks to access the assets by exploiting an existing vulnerability. So anywhere, if there is some vulnerability present in the system, from there only the attackers will always try to attack the system. The weakest point is going to be the strongest point for the attacker. Therefore, it's important to identify all these things in a system. To manage risk, organizations primarily focus on vulnerabilities because they cannot eliminate threat agents that may appear in various forms and sources to its assets. Organizations can install countermeasures to reduce the impact of an attack by a threat agent, thereby reducing vulnerability. So what the organizations can do is they can install the countermeasures to reduce the impact of the attack by a threat agent, thereby reducing the vulnerability. So risk assessment is the first step in determining the extent of potential threats and risks in an IT infrastructure. The process assesses risk and helps to identify appropriate controls to mitigate or eliminate risk. To determine the probability of an adverse event occurring, threats to an IT system must be analyzed in conjunction with the potential vulnerabilities and the existing security controls. The severity of an adverse event is estimated by the impact that it may have on critical business activities. Based on this analysis, a relative value of criticality and sensitivity can be assigned to IT assets and resources. For example, a particular IT system component may be assigned a high criticality value if an attack on this particular component can cause a complete termination of mission critical services. So depending on that, it is going to be assigned whether it is a high criticality or it is going to be a low criticality value, that particular asset. So if that asset termination is going to result into a mission critical services failure, then it is going to be a high criticality attack. The following sessions examine the three key elements of the risk trade. So now, which are the three key elements of risk trade? Assets, threats and vulnerabilities. So we'll have to understand all these three traits of the risk and then find out what do we mean by assets, threats and vulnerabilities, which are going to be considered. So first let us understand what do we mean by assets. Assets. So information is one of the most important assets for any organization. Other assets include hardware, software and the network infrastructure required to access this information. To protect these assets, organizations must develop a set of parameters to ensure the availability of the resources to authorized users and trusted networks. These parameters apply to storage resources, the network infrastructure and organizational policies. So which are the most important asset is the information, but in addition to this information there are going to be other assets also, which are hardware, software and the network infrastructure required to access this particular information. Without hardware, software and the network infrastructure, we cannot access this information only, and that information will be of no use if we don't take care or secure these software, hardware and the network infrastructure. So therefore this needs to be first secured. Several factors need to be considered when planning for asset security. Security methods have two objectives. First objective is to ensure that the network is easily accessible to authorized users. It should also be reliable and stable under disparate environmental conditions and volumes of usage. So let the volume of usage also, if the volume of usage increases and if you are not able to make possible to access that particular resource, then there is no point in having that particular system. So therefore it depends that it should be reliable and stable under disparate environmental conditions and volumes of usage. Even when the volumes of usage increase also, it has to be reliable. So second objective is to make it very difficult for potential attackers to access and compromise the system. These methods should provide adequate protection against unauthorized access to resources, viruses, worms, trojans and other malicious software programs. Security measures should also encrypt critical data and disable unused services to minimize the number of potential security gaps. The security method must ensure that updates to the operating system and other software are installed regularly. At the same time, it must provide adequate redundancy in the form of replication and mirroring of the production data to prevent catastrophic data loss if there is an unexpected malfunction. In order for the security system to function smoothly, it is important to ensure that all users are informed of the policies governing use. The effectiveness of a storage security methodology can be measured by two criteria. One, the cost of implementing the system should only be a small fraction of the value of the protected data. Two, it should cost a potential attacker more in terms of money and time to compromise the system than the protected data is worth. This is very important. So these two things have to be kept in mind by the organization to protect the assets of the organization. So after assets we come to threats. What do we mean by threats? Now threats are the potential attacks that can be carried out on an IT infrastructure. These attacks can be classified as active or passive. Passive attacks are attempts to gain unauthorized access into the system. They pose threats to confidentiality of information. Passive attacks will pose threat to confidentiality of the information. Active attacks include data modification, denial of service, and repudiation attacks. They pose threats to data integrity and availability. In a modification attack, the unauthorized user attempts to modify information for malicious purposes. A modification attack can target data at rest or data in transit. These attacks pose a threat to data integrity. So which attacks are going to pose threat to data integrity and which attacks are going to pose threat to confidentiality? So you should be able to differentiate between passive attacks and active attacks. What do we mean by passive attacks? What do we mean by active attacks? So active attacks are going to pose threat to data integrity and availability, whereas the passive attacks are going to pose threat to confidentiality of the information. So what do we mean by denial of service? Denial of service attacks denies the use of resources to legitimate users. These attacks generally do not involve access or to modification of information on the computer system. Instead, they pose a threat to data availability. The intentional flooding of a network or website to prevent legitimate access to authorized users is one example of a DOS attack. So denial of service, the data is not going to be modified or neither the data is going to be stolen, but data is going to be made unavailable to the authorized user in case of denial of service attack. Here what happens is, they usually involve, there will be flooding of data in the network or website to prevent legitimate access to authorized users. That is one of the example of denial of service attack. Then repudiation attack. What do we mean by repudiation? Is an attack against the accountability of the information. It attempts to provide false information by either impersonating someone or denying that an event or a transaction has taken place. So this table describes different forms of attacks and the security services used to manage them. So in this table we have seen which are the different forms of attacks and the security services used to manage them. So hope you have understood what do we mean by repudiation. That is, one person sends a false message and later on he denies that he has sent that particular message. So that is repudiation. Therefore, it is going to attack the accountability of the person. So that is why it is more dangerous. Vulnerability. What do we mean by vulnerability? Now the threats and the risks are only going to be attacked from the vulnerable points. Which are the vulnerable points? We'll have to understand. The paths that provide access to information are the most vulnerable to potential attacks. Each of these paths may contain various access points, each of which provides different levels of access to the storage resources. It is very important to implement adequate security controls at all the access points on an access path. Implementing security controls at each access point of every access path is termed as defense in depth. Defense in depth recommends protecting all access points within an environment. This reduces vulnerability to an attacker who can gain access to storage resources by bypassing inadequate security controls implemented at the vulnerable single point of access. Such an attack can jeopardize the security of information assets. For example, a failure to properly authenticate a user may put the confidentiality of information at risk. Similarly, a DOS attack against a storage device can jeopardize information availability. Attack surface, attack vector, and work factor. These are the three factors to consider when assessing the extent to which an environment is vulnerable to security threats. Attack surface, attack vector, and work factor. These three factors are to be considered when you are assessing the extent to which the environment is vulnerable to security threats. So first let us understand what do we mean by attack surface. Attack surface refers to the various entry points that an attacker can use to launch an attack. Each component of a storage network is a source of potential vulnerability. All of the external interfaces supported by that component, such as the hardware interface, the supported protocols, and the management and administrative interfaces can be used by an attacker. So all these can be considered as the attack surfaces from where an attacker can enter into the system or he can launch an attack. These are going to be considered. So these interfaces form the attack surface for the attacker. Even unused network services, if enabled, can become a part of the attack surface. So therefore, you should not just leave those unused network services. You have to terminate it completely. So an attack vector. An attack vector is a step or a series of steps necessary to complete an attack. For example, an attacker might exploit a bug in the management interface to execute a snoop attack, whereby the attacker can modify the configuration of the storage device to allow the traffic to be accessed from one more host. This redirected traffic can be used to snoop the data in transit. Work factor. What do we mean by work factor? Work factor refers to the amount of time and effort required to exploit an attack vector. For example, if attackers attempt to retrieve sensitive information, they consider the time and effort that would be required for executing an in a class na giddinri. This may include determining privileged accounts, determining the database systems, and writing SQL queries. Instead, based on the work factor, they consider a less effort-intensive way exploit the storage array by attaching to it directly and reading from the raw disk block. Having assessed the vulnerability using the three factors, that is attack surface, attack vector, and the work factor. Attack vector and work factor. So having assessed the vulnerability of the network environment, to security threats, organizations can plan and deploy specific control measures directed at reducing vulnerability by minimizing attack surfaces and maximizing the work factor. These controls can be technical or non-technical. Technical controls are usually implemented through computer systems, whereas non-technical controls are implemented through administrative and physical controls. Administrative controls include security and personnel policies or standard procedures to direct the safe execution of various operations. Physical controls include setting up physical barriers such as security guards, fences or locks. So in our college you can see that we have both security, physical controls as well as administrative controls, that is technical and non-technical. We have both. So technical control, how we have implemented technical control in the college for accessing the network of our college. So can anybody tell? And how this physical control is ensured in the laboratory? Can you just go and sit and start working without anybody's permission in the laboratory? And unless and until you have an iCard, will you be allowed to enter the campus? So that is all administrative and physical control which is ensured in the organization's network. So based on the roles they play, controls can be categorized as preventive, detective, corrective, recovering or compensating. So these controls can be preventive, detective, corrective, recovering or compensating. The discussion here focuses on preventive, corrective and detective controls only. The preventive control attempts to prevent an attack. The detective control detects whether an attack is in progress, and after an attack is discovered, the corrective controls are implemented. Preventive controls avert the vulnerabilities from being exploited and prevent an attack to reduce its impact. Corrective controls reduce the effect of an attack, while detective controls discover attacks and trigger preventive or corrective controls. For example, an intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, IDS or IPS, is a detective control that determines whether an attack is underway and then attempts to stop it by terminating a network connection. So this is the risk trade where threats, assets, risk and vulnerabilities are there. And we have seen now which are the threats, which are the assets and what do we mean by vulnerabilities, and which are the, how are you going to identify the vulnerabilities in the organization we have seen. Security elements. Assets are information is the most important asset, and other assets are hardware, software and network infrastructure. Protecting the asset is the primary concern. Then security mechanism consideration must provide easy access to information assets for authorized users, make it very difficult for potential attackers to access and compromise the system. They should also cost a small fraction to the value of protected assets and should cost a potential attacker more in terms of money and time to compromise the system than the protected data is worth. Therefore, we have to make it more difficult for the attacker. Security elements, threats we have seen. Potential attacks that can be carried out on an IT infrastructure are passive attacks and active attacks. What do we mean by passive attacks? Passive attacks attempt to gain unauthorized access into the system and threats to confidentiality of information. Passive attacks are going to be threats to confidentiality of the information. Active attacks are data modification, denial of service and repudiation attacks. They are threats to data integrity and availability. So this table, as I told you in the previous slide, that This table is going to tell us which are the different mechanisms and which are the different services given by the security infrastructure. Types of passive attack. Let us see which are the different types of passive attacks. The different types of passive attacks are eavesdropping and snooping. What do we mean by eavesdropping? When someone overhears a conversation, the unauthorized access is called eavesdropping, and snooping. This refers to accessing another user's data in an unauthorized way. In general, snooping and eavesdropping are synonymous. It is almost same. Snooping and eavesdropping. So, malicious hackers frequently use snooping techniques and equipment such as key loggers to monitor keystrokes, to capture passwords and login information, or to intercept email and other private communication and data transmission. Organizations sometimes perform legitimate snooping on employees to monitor their use of business computers and to track internet usage. Now the third security element is what we discussed was vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities can occur anywhere in the system. An attacker can bypass controls implemented at a single point in the system or requires defense in depth implementing security controls at each access point of every access path. So failure anywhere in the system can jeopardize the security of information assets. Loss of authentication may jeopardize confidentiality, and loss of a device jeopardize the availability. So these are the various vulnerabilities in the system. So in understanding vulnerabilities, we have seen three factors, that is attack surface, attack vector and work factor. Attack surface refers to various access points or interfaces that an attacker can use to launch an attack, and attack vector is a path or means by which an attacker can gain access to a system, and work factor is the amount of time and effort required to exploit an attack vector. Solution to protect critical assets: minimize the attack surface, maximize the work factor, then manage vulnerabilities, that is detect and remove the vulnerabilities or install countermeasures to lessen the impact. These are going to be the solutions to protect the critical assets. Countermeasures to vulnerabilities: implement countermeasures, that is safeguards or controls, in order to lessen the impact of vulnerabilities. Controls are technical or non-technical. Now technical is implemented in computer hardware, software or firmware, and non-technical is going to be administrative and physical. Administrative policies are going to be the policies and the standards set up in the organization, and physical control is going to be guards and the gates. Controls provide different functions: preventing, corrective and detective. So preventive are the prevent an attack, corrective reduce the effect of an attack, and detective discover attacks and trigger preventive corrective controls. So IDS and IPS systems need to be installed in the organization for detective control. So these are the three different control functions: preventive, corrective and detective. So the lesson summary, what we studied in today's class is storage security. Storage security framework we saw. Which are the security attributes? The four security attributes we have seen, the CIA triangle, that is confidentiality, integrity, availability and accountability. Then the security elements we have seen: assets, threats and vulnerabilities, and security controls, that is technical and non-technical, and control functions are preventive, corrective and detective. These are the things what we studied in today's class. So in the next class, we will be studying about storage security domains. So we will study the storage security domains in the next class. Any difficulties in today's class? Hope you have understood the security infrastructure, storage security infrastructure. So in the next chapter, we are going to study about managing this security infrastructure. How do we manage and monitor the security infrastructure? This we will be studying in the next chapter. Maybe within 2 days, I will be completing the syllabus. Thank you.